Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to our live chat, live stream today, the 13th of July, 2025. I said that I have 10 questions to ask the Pope, His Holiness the Pope, right now. I'm going to share them with you. The first thing I have to say is that when this Pope was elected, it was a sign of relief for me. During the whole day, from the moment that the white smoke came up, I was just biting my fingernails, worried that we would see a continuation of the previous one. And he came, and I have 2 or 3 videos on that. And my immediate reaction was that this Pope is Catholic. And so then he said a few words. I loved his smile, tender. I thought, I just a sign of relief. Then he prayed in Latin. I said, okay. Certainly he's not going to be worse than the other one. That is for sure. All right. Then I started seeing that the usual ones, would criticize him for not doing changes fast enough. And that was unfair, I thought. One has to, when you are in a position of leadership at that level, you have to be responsible and you have to be prudent. And things cannot change overnight. Okay, especially in a church that is so divided. You cannot go from one extreme to the other extreme. So prudence and wisdom. So that is what I said, defending His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. Okay, so nothing against the Pope, but 2 months in, and 2 months in, I know is a very short time. It's a very short time in the 2025 years in the history of the Church. But I haven't seen any movement in one direction, the direction that I would like to see. And nevertheless, I see movements in the other direction, or I perceive them to be in the other direction. So I'm a little bit worried, uncomfortable, iffy, what is happening here? Hence my questions. Not criticisms, not yet, just questions. And I put them there in the description box in ascending order. In other words, the least important first to the number 10, to the most important one for me, which would be number 1. So number 10 is, why President Zelensky again at the Vatican? Oh, because people go to the Vatican, heads of state go to the Vatican, and yes, I know. But people don't go, leaders don't go to the Vatican to have a cup of tea. They go with something, with a mission, or with a question, or with a message, or with something. Yeah. I was quite proud when I saw in the celebration when he became Pope, all the heads of state of the whole world coming there, lining up to congratulate him. And I was proud, but at the same time a little bit uncomfortable, because I couldn't quite express why. But you see, we had seen leaders of the globalist movement forever visiting Pope Francis there, one after the other. Yeah, all the leaders of international finance always there. And yet Francis did not, I mentioned this before, did not receive Cardinal Zhang from China, who had been in prison forever, and he waited there for 3 days, and he waited 1 day and he was not received, and he waited another day and he was not received, and he waited the 3rd day and he was not received, and then he went back to China. But nevertheless, we were seeing, you know, the leaders of international finance, the leaders of movements, gender movements, all this, forever present there. And so when I saw all the leaders of the world, they all come to pay their respects to the leader of the Catholic Church, the Pope. That's a little bit unusual. Oh, but that is because he is the head of state. Yes, but all, yeah. But anyway, never mind. But President Zelensky comes again at the Vatican. We see him there in the balcony. The optics, not very good. The Pope and Zelensky there in the balcony. Optics, not good. Because it is a political issue, Your Holiness. Yes, and in political issues and political ideologies and political stances, we differ. Yes. And some people see him as a hero, and others do not agree with that. Others see this president as someone who had chances for peace and nevertheless chose to be with the West. And if I want to tell you, if you care to hear what I have to say, my opinion, sacrificed his people for the hegemony of the West. To the last Ukrainian, they say. So, why there again? What message did he have? Okay. Number 9, optics there. Number 9, why Tucho Fernandez and other in the Vatican Old Guard Masonic bureaucracy are still there. Tucho Fernandez from Argentina, why is he still there? I wouldn't want to call him a pervert, but he writes poetry to, you know, young men and things. Is that a good example? And when I say the old guard Masonic bureaucracy, surely we know, yes, that for the last century, the Vatican was practically taking over, hence the spirit of Vatican II and all that. Not the fathers of Vatican II, but the spirit afterwards, and all those cardinals and all those bishops who are anti-Catholic. They're there inside to destroy the church. Why are there many of them still there? I know it's only 2 months, but some movement there. Tucho Fernandez there still. Rose, Cardinal Rose from England, who was with Francis practically destroying the traditional liturgy. Then he changed back, then he's changing again, then this, then that. I mean, those people still there? No movement there? How about the current bishops' appointments that you have made? I won't mention them. But there are a lot of perverts there teaching about sexual disorder. And you promoted them? Where is that leading us? What are you telling us by those appointments? oh, you're playing chess and you put this bishop there who's a pervert, but perhaps then you will nominate an auxiliary bishop who will keep him in. No. Why promote those that are promoting something that goes against Catholic doctrine? What is the point of that? I don't understand it. I'll try not to get upset. How about the so-called Gallen Mafia, St. Gallen Mafia? They call it that. I think they call themselves that. All the Germans there, acting directly against the Catholic Church and Catholic doctrine. What is happening with them? Have you addressed that problem? Because they are inside the Catholic Church when they do not agree with Catholic doctrine. So perhaps they should move out or something and create their own church or join some other church. What are they doing inside the Catholic Church when they are heretics? Hopefully you will not say charity, because before love comes justice and truth. Otherwise it's just sentimentality. What have you done with those priests that, my goodness, there was one, I mentioned it in one of my videos, that there at the altar, one of these German or Swiss bishops or whatever from this group put at the altar there, inside a condom, the heart of a pig. Instead of the crucifix at the altar. What happened to that pervert? Is he still around? There's a bishop in Spain who has just prohibited people from kneeling down. Have you talked to him? What are all these people, these bishops, doing inside the Catholic Church, destroying the Catholic Church, continuing to do so? Where are you on this? Moving right along. Number 8. At first, yes. But why continue to mention Francis? I understand why you had to mention Francis, Pope Francis, at the beginning. You don't want to go to other extremes and so on. Fine. I understand even why you went to his tomb there. Okay, bring the unity, bring the church together. But why continue to do so when you know that he was the source of so much division? So clearly, by mentioning him all the time, instead of other popes more worthy, why do you keep mentioning him? Clearly, to me, on the outside, that means that you're going to continue his teaching. Oh my goodness. Number 7. Why not address the issue of cancelled or excommunicated priests and bishops? Excommunicated or cancelled or tortured almost by Bergoglio, psychologically tortured by Bergoglio for being too traditional. You haven't moved at all in that. That is such an act of injustice. A priest in America cancelled for being the leader of the pro-life movement. Bishop Strickland cancelled, taken out of his diocese Why? Oh, because there was a question there about the auditors who found. No, 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 no. Yeah, because he was the only bishop in America who went to Los Angeles when the transgender people were mocking nuns. You remember in the LA Lakers, whatever it was. And they paraded inside the stadium and they carried a crucifix, these men dressed as women, which was a grotesque thing, dressed as nuns, actually, and simulating sexual acts with a crucifix. And Catholics gathered outside, non-violent, praying. It's the only thing they could do, really. And Bishop Strickland went there and led them in prayer. That is what happened. Too traditional for Bergoglio, because he saw tradition as rigid, rigid, rigid. Oh my goodness, and the answer to that rigidity was too much flexibility. I'm thinking of other words to say. Too malleable. Anything goes. Why have you not addressed that injustice yet? I'm not saying that the problem has to be solved, but a movement in that direction, that needs to be addressed, and that is urgent. I'm talking about Bergoglio. Why Bergoglio or Francis? Why his heresies not addressed yet? Many heresies. The Pachamama. All religions are the same. He was not a theologian. People excuse him by saying, well, what he meant was. Let's see, what he meant was that, all religions agree 90%. Yeah, we know about natural law because we were all, regardless of religion or no religion or whatever, we were all made in the image of God. So there is a natural law in our hearts that tells us, regardless of religion, that killing your father is wrong. Religion doesn't come into it in that way. But religions are different. In the Christian religion, we believe in the Trinity, triune God, God, the Son of God, incarnated, and so on. Well, that is not the same that the Jewish religion, who do not accept. In fact, it is a blasphemy that Jesus was the Messiah. That is contradictory to the Christian religion. Yeah. And in Islam, I don't know very much about it, but I believe that Islam means subject or submission, I believe, to God, which is good. The Christian faith also teaches that. But the Christian faith emphasizes also that God gave us free will. This is our great gift and our curse, perhaps, fallen man. Free will for us to choose what is right and what is wrong. And we may choose to do what is wrong. And that's up to us. Yeah. What I'm saying, I don't know very much about Islam. Okay, so just leave it like that. I know that they do not accept Jesus as the Son of God. Yeah. So that for them is probably a blasphemy, and it is also a blasphemy for the Jewish religion. Therefore, no, not all religions are the same. Come on, even I can think of that. So many things that he said. but always sliding them there. The things that he said and he did have to be addressed openly. That's number 4. Bergoglio's heresies. My goodness. Number 5. You just celebrated the creation mass. Okay, no problem there. The creation. Let's talk. Because the church has dealt with this problem of nature, the creator and the created for a long, long, long time. Yes. It's no problem accepting, as we Catholics do, that nature is the creation of God. And because it is the creation of God, we have to respect it and love it, and we have a duty towards God's creation. No problem with that. In fact, I think I mentioned in one of my videos a long time ago about a 14th century Spanish monk from Asturias in the north of Spain who wrote a marvelous book about the Creator and its creation. And he was telling us in very simple language that everything in nature follows what God wanted of it. The tree does not go against God. The tree does the function of a tree. The stone, a pebble in the road, is doing its function. Everything is in nature, is true to their creation. Yeah. It's only man who goes against God. And it's a beautiful book. Perhaps I will look at it again. But we understand in Catholic doctrine why we should respect nature, everything that's created by God, because it is God's creation. Hence, human dignity too. But you're dealing with a world that half of it does not understand it in this way. The other half refuses to understand it in this way. And a lot of people don't even bring God, the creator, into it. They just see the creation and they're so lost that they actually almost worshiping nature now. In other words, we're going back to paganism, Gaia and all things, all that. Okay, they don't see it in context. Okay, the creator back, just nature. And what I am saying is that the people who see this may misunderstand you, because they're not putting it in context. Also because Francis was always talking about the environment, everything was the environment. That became a sort of a religion, the environment, as if we are adoring, worshipping Gaia, nature. And that became too much because it was out of context. He didn't explain it. And so, even though you don't want to, you may be misleading people to put creation above the creator. These things have to be managed very carefully because not everyone understands Catholic theology. Enough about that. Number 4. The most overt genocide in recent history not addressed. I mentioned this in Gaza. I mention this because this goes beyond the political issue. It is also a moral issue. That is why I am addressing it to you. I'm not asking you to take sides between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I'm talking about a moral issue of people who are being starved to death and exterminated. And no one says anything. No one can say anything about it. People are protesting, many young people, and they are arrested in many Western countries because they are charged with being pro-terrorist, Hamas, whatever. When in fact, these young people, and many of them are Jewish, are saying that what they see is wrong. That's all. And they want to express it. But their countries do not allow them to do so because politicians are all scared. Reasons, that leads us into a political question. I don't want to address it. Everyone will have their reasons. But people are not being allowed to express a moral feeling about what is happening. Someone would have to do it. In politics, we would call that a statesman who, lifts himself up, elevates from the regular crowd and speaks the truth. We need a moral leader who speaks the truth on this issue. And I would go beyond that and say, because you have referred to, at one time, I heard you, perhaps you have done it more times, but it doesn't come across. You see, the one time that I heard you, you were saying, the Palestinians, I don't know how you referred to them, and also the 100 Israelis who are still held. Yeah. And that is true. There are some 100, or I don't know the number, Israelis who are still being held. Okay, but the proportion here is not equivalent. Someone has to speak up, and no one is doing it. You are not doing it. Who will? History. All right. Number 3. Is there anyone here, by the way? I might be here by myself. Never mind. What is number 3? Number 3. Oh, yes, of course, the liturgy. Yeah. Why the issue of the true Mass, the real Mass, the traditional Mass of the ages, not yet addressed? I know and I appreciate the fact that you brought Latin into it a little bit. Yeah? Lovely. And people love it. And young people love it. It's going to become fashionable, Latin, actually. Now, I was raised in the Latin Mass because I'm well into my 70s. So those awful changes done by the Protestants and the Masons, they came about when I was in my 20s. Didn't affect me, really, personally. But, and even though I was raised by nuns, yeah. So I remember at the age of 8 praying the rosary in Latin, the Mass in Latin, everything in Latin. But you didn't know what you were saying. Yes, I did know what I was saying. Yes, I did. A friend of mine who is Jewish, and he's a Jewish convert, yeah. And he told me that doesn't was really because he said in the Jewish tradition, the Jews also in some ceremonies say the prayers in Hebrew. It doesn't mean that they know Hebrew, certainly not ancient Hebrew, not the Hebrew that they speak today in Israel, but the ancient one. But nevertheless, because they have learned it and they know, they know what they're saying. I knew what I was saying. Oh my goodness, I used to recite the litany and well, that's okay. But let me be serious here. Why have you not addressed that issue yet? That issue has been dividing the church for 70 years now. You have to address it directly. Benedict XVI tried. The bishops didn't take any notice because we know who the bishops are, whatever. Apparently, they said in their in their questionnaire to Francis, that actually it was a good thing that around the traditional Mass, families and communities come together, the Catholic faith is revived. You haven't moved. Can we see a few steps there? Because it's not a question, well, perhaps you can allow it on, Wednesday night at 9 o'clock in the evening. Some priest somewhere can say the traditional Latin Mass. That's not good enough anymore. Not good enough anymore. And I'm tired of hoping. I'm tired of wishing. I'm tired of sighing. I'm tired of begging. I demanded that the liturgy of the church for 2,000 years is made the liturgy of the Catholic Church. And if someone wants to bring condoms and whatever it is that they want to do, let them do it outside or be excommunicated. The liturgy of the Catholic Church is the true Catholic Mass. Changed by the Spirit, not by the fathers, by the Spirit of Vatican II, the Masons and the Protestants. You know that. And sure, you're much younger, Holy Father, you're much younger than I am. Well, not a different generation, though. But I think that if you had your first communion at the age of 7, that Mass was probably the old Mass. Well, okay, you don't remember it, but I said at some point that what your brothers said, that you used to love playing at giving communion, come, I'll give you all that came from the fact that you saw the old Mass. You wouldn't have wanted to give your brother's communion if all you knew was the new Mass as it's celebrated and said today. There's no mystery, there's no nothing there. You have to do something. This has to be the liturgy. The liturgy of the ages has to be the liturgy now. And those who want to play guitar can go to whatever. You want entertainment? Go to the circus. I could talk about this for a long time. My goodness. Okay, what's the next one? Yes, what went wrong with the spirit of Vatican II? Anything? Anything at all went wrong? When 80% of Catholics left the church? Nothing went wrong there? Why not address the issue of the abuses of the understanding of Vatican II? This was abused. This is not what the fathers of Vatican II said or meant. That has to be addressed. Okay, Father, the Holy Father. The maxim, I want to address this. The maxim Festina Lente. Festina Lente. It's a natural virtue. It means make haste slowly or hurry slowly. Yeah. I wrote here, hold on, just give me a second. I'm going to ask you, because I know you're prudent, I'm going to ask you to change this for something else. I would ask you to change Festina Lente for Prudens, esto, celeriter. Let me explain. For all of you, I know the Holy Father won't listen to this, but in any case, all of you there. Okay. Festina Lente emphasizes hurry slowly, is there to emphasize deliberation, to emphasize carefulness, even when urgency is needed. It suggests that true speed comes from efficiency, avoiding mistakes that come about from rushing. Hence, prudence a little bit, yeah? Is represented by a dolphin in the Roman tradition, a dolphin, which means haste, and an anchor, which means settled slowly in this case. The Emperor Augustus' advice to his troops was, in fact, to hasten slowly. It is an oxymoron, if you think about it. Yes, it comes from the Latin oxus, which means sharp, and moron, which means dull. So an oxymoron then means sharp dullness, a figure of speech, combining contradictory terms, not in a context of opposites contradicting each other, but in order to spark attention, invite reflection. Festina Lente, I thought, was what you, Holy Father, were employing. But I have a problem with the festina part of it. So I'm going to suggest Prudens esto, celeriter, which means be prudent swiftly, be prudent with urgency, be prudent fast. Now, let me finish. if I had to write a moral of a story for a tale, Aesop's fables or some other moral cautionary tale, I would end this video with this. When you perceived, and in your case, Holy Father, you should perceive it. When you perceive a threatened danger, use every precaution to avert it. For he is not a sensible leader who only sees the danger after it has come upon him. But wise is he who, by a prudent, slight movement, foresees the approaching evil and provides against it. A prudent, slight movement. That's all I'm asking of you. All right, everyone, I'm going to finish. Hello, Lagnivanya, how are you? Muffing, you say? What does that mean? Okay, so there are no chats here, so I will end the stream. And oh, good evening. Gracias, Lali. Yes. May you have a pleasant evening. Yes, I'm having a pleasant evening right now, talking to the Holy Father, one hopes. Okay, be well. Thank you so much. Always a great, dear follower. I appreciate all your comments. I look forward to them. I really do. Thank you so much. I will end the stream now. Thank you. By the way, I have a members only when where I teach sociology and political theory and government. And if you want to join for your children or grandchildren, if they want to study as a discipline of study, for their exams or whatever, I think I may help them there. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Bye-bye.